All right, this is a video on decimals and place value. Now, I think you've remembered how to do a place value chart. Let's review though. Let's say that we start here. You remember, this is the ones place. This is the tens place. This is the hundreds place. And you'll start to see a pattern. No zero, 1 0, 2 zeros. So this one must have 3 zeros. So that's 1,000. This must have 4 zeros, which is 10,000. This must have 5 zeros, which is 100,000. This must have 6 zeros, which is 1,000,000. And this must have 7 zeros, which is 10 million. And this is 8 zeros, which is 100 million. Now, all of these you have to think of that they are more than one whole. So let me just hold this down here. This is the ones place. So you have to think of it as everything from here over is more than one whole. All right? Now, if we think about the other side of the place value chart, everything is going to be less than 0. So this is like your dollar bills, and this is like your spare change. Like, oh, I don't have $1, I only have a few quarters. So that's what this is. So let's go over how to produce this place value chart to the right. So if this is the ones place, I'd like you to think of it as 1 over 1, because we know that now. We know that 1 over 1 equals 1 whole. So if you noticed, on this side of the 1 whole, we added a 0. So you're also going to add a 0 to this side, but instead of adding it to the numerator, like you did on this one, you're going to add it to the denominator. So this is 1, so I'm going to add a 0 to the denominator, and that gives me tenths. And the way you say that is tenths. And you'll notice I just had 10 and then I added a th. Okay. The next one, I'm just going to add another 0 to the denominator. So I had no zeros, 1 0, 2 zeros. And this one is easy because that looks like 100. But it's not on the top. It's not in the numerator. It's in the denominator. So we called it hundredths. And again, we're just adding a th. I'll give you a couple seconds to think of what the next one will be. It's pretty easy because you know it's 10 tenths, 100 hundredths. All right, so we know we just add a 0. 0 zeros, 1, 2, so this is 3 zeros. And I like to add the comma at the end. So this looks like it's thousands. So I have thousand, and I add the THS, and I've got thousands. And the last one, no 0, 1, 2, 3, this must be 4 zeros. So 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros, add the comma, 10 thousandths. So this is 10 thousandths. Thousand, and then I just add the THS, 10 thousandths. All right. Okay, so remember this side is more than one whole, this is less than one whole. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, a lot of people like to relate decimals to money. So remember, this is your dollar bills, that's more than one, and this is less. Okay, so I have $1 bill, so I put 1 here. And I just want you to know that this right here, that decimal point, we always say it and, so it's 1 and it looks like we have 1 dime and we have 1 penny. So this would be 1 and 11 cents, $1.11. Now let's think if we just had a dime. So I'm going to take away the dollar. I'm going to take away the penny. So this would be, looks like we have no dollar bill, so $0, and we have 1 dime. So let's say, remember, this is the ones, this is the tenths, and this is the hundredths. Okay. Now, before I go any further, we know for dimes, how many dimes does it take to make $1? Okay. It takes 10 of these. So if I only have 1 dime, I have 1 out of 10, because 10 out of 10 would give me 1 of these. So that's how this is equal to 1 out of 10. So we have 1 out of 10, that's a dime, so that would be here. Okay. So then I've ended here. I don't have any pennies. I'm not going to write a 0 there because we use the 0 here because it's a placeholder, because if we didn't have it, this 1 would slide. So now it looks like I have 1 up here, tenth. So if I wanted to write this decimal, or this, I could write the money as a decimal, which would be right here. And to change the decimal to a fraction, I would just read what the number says, which is a 1. I put it on top, and then I put the place value down below, which is a tenth. Okay. Well, let's think about it. Let's say I don't have a dime, I just have a penny. Okay. So now we know we have $0. That's the ones place. This is the tenths. And this is 100. Well, let's think of what a penny is. How many pennies does it take to make $1? How many pennies does it take to make $1? 100, right? So this is 1 out of 100, because we always want to relate everything back to our unit value, which is $1. So it's 1 out of 100. So I know this, if I only had 1 of those, this would be the hundredths place. So I only have 1 penny. Okay, it goes here. But I don't have any dimes, so I have to put a placeholder here, because if I don't, and you can put little happy faces here, because you know those are just placeholders. They're saving the place so this doesn't go to the front of the line, right? Okay, so this would be read 1 hundredths. So we do it like that. Okay, so the way you change a decimal, which is this, into a fraction is you just say the number you see, 1, and then you see what the place value is. So it's 1 goes here, and then what's the place? Oh, hundredths. This right here is a 1, so we put it on top, the numerator, and then what goes in the denominator? Oh, the place that it ends in. Oh, that's tenths. Okay. All right, so that's relating decimals to money. Now I want to try to change. I want to try to relate. We're going to start with money, and then we're going to change it to decimals, and then we're going to change it to fraction. So let's say I have 5 dimes. Okay, so I always write the place value on the bottom. So this is 1 whole, 1/10, 100. It's just so easy for me. Now I know dimes, I need 10 of these, so I have, it looks like it says I have 5 dimes. So I go to the tenths place, and I'd say I have 5 dimes. I have no dollars, and I'm not going to put the penny here, because if I put that here, I don't really need it. It's not holding my place like this one is. Okay? So now if I'm going to change this decimal to a fraction, I just write the number on top, which is a 5, and then I look to its place. 5 tenths. Okay. The way you read this is 5 tenths, or you could read it as this line right here is a symbol, and it means out of. It means out of or divide. Okay. So it's 5 out of 10 or 5 tenths. So you have 5 out of the 10 dimes you need to make $1, or you have 5 tenths. Now let's do the pennies. Okay. So I'm going to do my place value chart. This is the ones, this is the tenths, this is the hundredths. And I know it takes 100 pennies to make $1, so I have 3 out of the 100. Now I'm going to need my placeholders here. because if I don't have them, this will slide back. So my little placeholders. Okay. Now how do I change this decimal to a fraction? I just write the number I see. This looks like 3. And then I write what the place value is that I ended on, which is 100. So again, this means 3 hundredths. Or you could just say I have 3 out of 100. Now this one looks tricky, but again, I'm going to write 1, 1/10, and 1/100. Now, you could think of this as 3 dimes and 6 pennies, right? Because 3 dimes is 30 cents, plus 6 pennies is 36. But when you're changing that to a decimal, all you have to do is think, I need to end on pennies, which is hundredths. So I'm going to write 36, and look, I ended, if my first digit was here, my last digit needs to end on the hundredths place, and it did. But I need to have a placeholder here so this doesn't slide back. Okay, so now how do I write it as a fraction? How do I write this decimal as a fraction? I just see the number I see up here, it's 36. And then I write the place value of the last digit, which is 100. And again, it's 36 hundredths, or 36 out of 100. So it's always nice to know what that symbol means. It also means divided by. But here it seems easier just to think of it as out of. Now let's think of this, 4 dimes and 3 pennies. Again, I do my place value chart. I know this is 1. I know this is 1/10. I know this is 100th. Now I know dimes, there are 10 dimes to make $1, so I've got 4 dimes and I've got 3 pennies. Okay, so in order to change this, oh, and I forgot the placeholder, so $0. Okay, so now I have $0 and 43 hundredths. Okay, how do I write that? This, I just see the number here, it's 43, and I look to where it ends, which is hundredths, so I write that down there. Okay, you also could do this like this, 4 dimes is equal to 4 out of 10 plus 3 pennies, which is 3 out of 100. And then adding and subtracting is plain to see. You match the bottoms perfectly. So I need to make them both 100 in the denominator. But remember, whatever I do to the denominator, I have to do the numerator. And then I can, adding and subtracting is plain to see. You match the bottoms perfectly. So that would be hundredths. And then I'm just going to add the tops. 40 plus 3 is 43. And you'll see here I got the same answer. So that's kind of cool. Okay, last slide. Right, this is changing a fraction to a decimal. So again, the first thing I do is I do my place value chart. Go in the opposite direction. Okay, so this says 5/10. How easy, this is tenths, and I have 5 of them. So I have no ones, placeholder. And this is my number. So I've changed, it should end on tenths, so it looks like it's 5/10. Perfect. This is 63 hundredths. Do my place value chart. 1, 1/10, 100th. Remember, if I'm doing this, I better end, my last digit better end on hundredths. So if I put it here, my last digit would end on tenths. So that's not right. So I think I'm going to try it here. Yes, that's it, because I wrote 63 and my last digit, 3, ended on hundredths. So I'm going to put a placeholder here. So that's red. 0 and 63 hundredths. Now this one, again, last one, it's the 1, it's the tenths, this is the hundredths. I always like putting that down just because it's so easy if I do it. That's 5 hundredths, so there's only 1 digit, so I know that digit needs to be in the hundredths place. I put it here. There's no tenths, so I'm going to put a happy placeholder, so this doesn't slide back. And I read it 5 hundredths. And look, 5 hundredths, 5 hundredths, 63 hundredths, 63 hundredths, 5/10, 5/10. So that if you say them, they sound the same. They're just written in a different form. I hope that helps. Thanks.